Mardu or Mardon't? There is no Mar-try. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I have been given a brew challenge. I have been asked to brew a Mardu Control deck list. Now, Control in Legacy right now, in my mind, means Up the Beanstalk and Uro. We don't get those. We also don't get Brainstorm and Ponder and Lorien revealed. So we're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle. Thomas has asked that I include two things in this challenge. That I need to include 4 copies of Forth Eorlingas, which honestly I would have done anyway, and 4 copies of the One Ring. If we don't get something like Up the Beanstalk or Uro, we really are going to need another secondary source of card advantage, and the One Ring makes a lot of sense. We are going to have some ways to go and mitigate the damage the One Ring is going to do to us, because we don't necessarily just have Uro to forgive everything later on in the game. And I had a lot of thoughts about how to approach this, but I think instead of walking through my process, I'm going to show you the end product and talk about the things that I did along the way that I kind of gave up on. So this is the 75 that I settled on. And for those of you who watch Brian, Bosch and Roll's content, I watched the last couple of minutes of his Boros Control deck list from a couple of weeks ago. And one of his takeaways is that you probably should be playing 4 copies of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, and I think that's going to be even more important in this deck list, as that treasure token can also serve as mana fixing for our deck list. So, in order of things that I added to the deck, after starting with the 8 core cards, the first thing that I added was 4 copies of Sheoldred the Apocalypse. I'm doing this for 2 reasons. Number 1, when we draw our cards off either the One Ring or the Monarch for Forth Eorlingas, we gain life, which offsets either the damage we take in the early game or the stuff from the One Ring. Number 2, if our opponent hands the Monarch, and I can then have a Punisher mechanic for them having the Monarch, I won't necessarily always get sort of buried in the cards. So that got me to these first 16 cards, plus the 4 copies of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker that were going to be kind of the glue that held it together. Next, I knew that I was going to need a bunch of removal, and I started out as Boros base with Swords to Plowshares and 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. And then I realized, I'm probably not going to be great at pressuring Planeswalkers in the early game, and I added Sheoldred's Edict to diversify my removal. And then, kind of once I started thinking that I was in 3 colors and I might otherwise have a hard time answering something like an enchantment, I diversified my Lightning Bolt and Prismatic Ending split to get to where I am now. So, conceptually speaking, I am giving up against combo in Game 1. I just don't realistically think I can build a good Mardu Control deck list that is trying to execute a game plan versus all of the format. I think if I try to put Hymn to Turox and Thoughtseizes in here, and I would probably need both to be competitive versus combo, that's 8 slots. And that is probably going to come at the cost of a lot of this removal. And I think I want to have a high removal density so that I have game versus decks like Delver. I think that's very important. But I couldn't make both the mana work to have early Boros and early double black while making sure I have all 3 colors available on turn 1. That was just kind of a stretch while still making sure all my slots worked elsewhere. Also, Thoughtseize alongside the One Ring is a lot of life loss without some other secondary thing like Urza Saga fetching up a Shadow Spear or something like that to really pad my life total. So my sideboard basically ended up being 15 cards for combo. We'll talk about that in a second. When I was originally building this deck list, I got to 58 cards, and I didn't know what to do with the last 2 slots. And I was thinking about something like Samwise the Stout-Hearted or Timeless Dragon, or even just straight up a Mardu-colored signet of some kind to make sure I could more accurately and consistently get to 4 mana. And then I decided on 2 copies of Chrome Mox, and the more I thought about it, the more I decided I wanted more of them. So the idea here is that on turn 1, I'm trying to use a removal spell, or maybe otherwise fix my mana by fetching a tri-land, and from turn 2 onward, I'm hoping to have decent plays. Well, Chrome Mox can make it so that on turn 2, I can cast a Forth Eorlingas for X is 1, become the Monarch, and then hide behind this wall of removal for the rest of the time. Or alternatively, it can get me to turn 2 Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, or turn 3 one of these cards, including Comet, which bounced in and out of the deck list as I was building it. Comet doesn't seem necessary, but it's another source of card advantage that operates in a slightly different way. So we are looking to play against fair decks. We're looking for the game to go long so that these things can take over the game. But Chrome Mox allows us to have some draws where we can accelerate some of this nonsense out a little bit early. Now, Chrome Mox is not the perfect card in this deck list because we do need some anti-artifact cards of some kind, like Hidetsugu Consumes All, Meltdown, Null Rod. We need some stuff of that nature, and Chrome Mox is going to be the collateral damage in that. I'm okay with that. Hidetsugu Consumes All is just a powerful card, and it's something that I can bring in versus combo that's not embarrassing, while also being very reasonable versus control deck lists. We do have to time it so that I don't just obliterate my own token army, though, but if the token army still exists, we're probably doing okay. Yeah, otherwise, the sideboard is very heavily dedicated towards helping us beat combo decks. Again, we're not looking to win the combo matchups in game 1, unless they're looking to draw cards, in which case, sometimes we'll get there. So with that being said, today's video was sponsored by Moxfield.com, Eminence Gaming, as well as Cool Stuff Inc. If you need some paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And this is a brew challenge. This is a completely untested deck list with 0 games. 2-3 is probably the upper end of what we're hoping for with a deck that looks like this. Or sorry, 3-2 is probably the upper end of what we're looking for. And if we 2-3, that's kind of like, we did something okay here. So temper your expectations, but hopefully we do some cool shit in a couple of these rounds. All right, we have some reasonable removal in the opening hand here. If I don't have to use a Lightning Bolt in the first turn cycle, I will fetch a tapped Triome to start off this game. Utopia Sprawl. Playing against Enchantress. I'm pretty happy to have a Sheoldred in that case. I am going to go ahead and fetch the Triome. We're not expecting Wasteland. Every once in a while, this deck can have something like a sideboard, or not sideboard, like a main deck juke, Blood Moon or something. Oh, that's a draw. I think Disrupt first. But I am tempted. I'm very tempted. All right, there's a new Wild Growth to replace what my opponent just did, but we definitely slowed my opponent down a turn cycle. I think this is going to the Dome. There's some things it can interact with, but I have so much removal in my deck that I'm very likely to draw more. This stuff's good. My deck's good. Sheoldred goes under. I think we just send forth the Eorlingas here to become the Monarch. And that just ensures that we can hit land drops for future turns. And like Monarch plus Sheoldred is great. Bowmasters is going to be great against what my opponent is doing. Your Enchantress is fine. Do you have more mana? You do have more mana. Opponent will get a card here. And some more mana. Or not some more mana on that one. That one's mana neutral. So this is just going to be Bowmasters in response to an Argothian Enchantress trigger. I really wanted to play Sheoldred this turn. It just punishes harder than Bowmasters does. Hopefully we pick up some extra mana here. Negative. We might just kill next turn. There's a Wild Growth. Here's Bowboy. We'll ping my opponent. Ooh, immediate Leyline Binding, which unfortunately is going to trigger Bowmasters again. Pinging my opponent. So they're at 11. Get rid of my Bowmasters, and I'm going to let it go. I don't need to swords it. Opponent goes to 10. This card draw doesn't get punished. We've got 4 onboard power here. And Sheoldred will hopefully do some more work. Negative. Just didn't draw that next land, which is quite unfortunate. I could put one more 2/2 into play, but I'm just planning on using Forth Eorlingas as a... Whoa! Surprised. As a fireball effect. And just playing Fable of the Mirror Breaker this turn. Alright, great. 4th mana? Yeah, I guess that's 4th mana. Abundant Growth? Sure. A new Leyline Binding, that's fine. Getting rid of the Shaman? What's the approach here? Okay. Destiny Spinner's fine. So there's a scrub land. I can Swords to Plowshares this, put my opponent to 9, play a 4th Eorlingas afterwards. And that's okay. With land drop and Chrome Mox, does that just do it? 4th Eorlingas for X equals 3 means 4 things get through. Yeah, that just does it. So no. So land drop, Chrome Mox, imprint 4th Eorlingas. Mardu it for X equals 3. All right, fantastic. We take game 1. Prismatic Ending on that initial mana source really slowed this game down and let us play at our own pace, and we punished draws really well with this deck list. Idetsugu Consumes All is gross here, folks. I am excited about that card. I probably also play Deafening Silence, despite the fact that, like, Idetsugu Consumes All is a non-bow with it. My Edicts are good. My Swords to Plowshares aren't great. They can hit Destiny Spinner. I'm probably going Swords out for these. Destiny Spinner's like a 2/3, so Lightning Bolt still kills it. So I could look something like this while not messing around with Thoughtseize or anything. Comet good. Comet's a little slow. I might just want another Lightning Bolt. Sometimes the, like, Setessan Champions style scale up cards are still around. Yeah, let's play one more answer to, like, a Destiny Spinner. Yes. Fuck yeah, in fact. This is great. Bill, what deck did you imagine playing against while building this deck? Well, it wasn't Enchantress, but this feels like about the dream. Now, if my opponent, like, Dream Crushes this while on 5 cards, like, so be it. Alright, there is an Abundant Growth. This is just a mana fixer. It's not a mana accelerant, so I don't think we Prismatic Ending that. Let's do some fetching here. Am I playing around a Blood Moon effect? It's pretty free, too, with this first land. Alright, Deafening Silence is in play. Opponent's down 2 cards, and I was on the draw, and they get 1 spell a turn. This is a strong start for me. Not willing to fetch there. Interesting. So now I can get black this turn, hold up Bowmasters, or just ending the Utopia Sprawl. I think I just ending the Utopia Sprawl. Oop. The reason to just play Bowmasters this turn is that it's the more aggressive line, and next turn I can ending on my own turn, Bowmasters on my opponent's turn. Jeskai Triome. Okay, for Leyline Binding specifically. Oh man, can Enchantress just play, like, Beans? That's kind of hot. Alright, maybe I'll get tricked into playing Enchantress again one of these days. Sure. Let's do this art of Badlands and pass. I'm not going to sweat playing the Lightning Bolt on my turn, Bowmasters on my opponent's turn, or anything like that. You gonna Bell Sage me? No. Wild Growth's fine. And that is just my opponent's turn, so they're not gonna get to respond to this. Bowmasters is just prepared to do crimes. A weird trade. Feels like no. Feels like no. I think I am just going to stick the second one of these in play, though, and push one more point of damage. Opponent will go to 16 from this. Take 3 damage in combat, go to 13, and I'm more than happy to lightning bolt them on their own end step. The binding is fine. Hitting one of the Bowmasters. Well, I hate this. Okay. Yes. So is my opponent going to copy a Leyline Binding, eat my token? Yep, I see it. And then they can have it come back and exile something else. Yeah, that's pretty hot. We'll send a bolt at face at this point. And let's fetch a Triome out of my deck. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. We'll take it. So I'll put my opponent to 9. I think I'm playing Fable, looting away this land. My opponent Leyline Binding's Deafening Silence, and then I hit it. Tsugu Consumes All. I think it's all a little weird. Let's take that 2/2. Opponent's list is cool. Yeah, so they take out a token. They didn't take out that Deafening Silence yet. Okay. Bowmasters, I like that. Still saying yes. Let's still loot through this land, I think. A different Hidetsugu Consumes All. Got it. Oop. Opponent's at 8. I think I'm just holding up this second Bowmasters. Like, I don't know how much impact destroying those 1-drops right now is, as opposed to just having access to another Bowmaster. But yeah, this is cool. One for the Fable. Draw, go, Enchantress. A little bit of a wild world that we live in here. Veil of Summer. Understood. So this Bowmaster triggers. Can't target my opponent anymore. So I'll ping myself with this one. Now I get an Orc. This happens. Now this can ping my Orc, which does not die. 4 damage showing. Prismatic Ending. Okay. Send them. Opponent's at 4. Let's Prismatic away the Wild Growth, as that does deny mana. And I think I'm keeping my Deafening Silence around. So now this time around, if my opponent bounces their Estrid's Invocation, I get Fable back, which means that I get a new body. Okay, there's Fable. So I get this 2/2 first. And now my opponent is going to take out the Deafening Silence. They need to have an impressive turn, which they did not. We're Marduing it! Today's video is sponsored by Eminence Gaming. They have run a ton of tournaments at this point, and you might know them from the competitive EDH scene, but their command tower software can be used for all sorts of different formats. It's really easy. You can even just give your players a QR code in order to get them all of their pairings and everything that they can need. I really love this software as a player, and you should talk to your stores about it. Consider using it. It's cool. My round 2 opening hand is just a touch mana light. I'd really prefer 3 mana sources in the opener, but hopefully this is fine. We'll see what sort of polluted delta this is. It used to be that polluted delta tended to be an indicator of unfair decks, but with so much blue-black scam running around, it's just like not clear anymore. That's a preordain. Got it. So this is probably a combo deck, so I'm not gonna play around Wasteland. I am gonna want black. So let's maybe grab a Scrubland and a Badlands. Oh, sure. Okay. Rug Delver with Preordain? Bottom there. That's weird. I guess I sorcery speed Bowmasters now? Yeah, I was gonna say it's dazeable, but better plays around sort of the speed of the matchup. Gross. Yeah, that's really bad. Like, as long as I draw lands, I am totally fine. I have an incredibly high density of removal in my hand. I am going to need that additional mana, though, and the fetch lands aren't necessarily reliable. Rough. If I miss on a land next turn, yeah, they're Seeking the Beast. Double Dragon Rage Channeler. All right. See if my opponent can play both. Okay, there's a second red mana. So that one's going to resolve. With the second one on the stack, I'll Lightning Bolt the first one. See if that works. Sure. Prismatic Ending is a fine draw. Just lets me save the Swords to Plowshares for the questing druid a little bit later on. Sure, you may brainstorm. That is a Force of Will, pitching a Stifle. Not sure how I feel about that. Holding that Stifle seems really good right now. Like, I think I might have just let that go, played the questing druid while holding up Stifle. I'll shut up if they just have another Stifle. Like, that's fine. Yeah. Alright, which one of these do I want to take out? The one that's hitting me for 3 right now, or the one that hits me for more than 3 later? I think the one that hits me for more later. Let's attempt Swords. I'm going to do it now. It's worse against Spell Pierce, but otherwise doesn't give my opponent more mana to untap and just do something like Hardcast of Force of Negation, or like play a Questy Beast card. Swords to Plowshares, sure. Do this in my opponent's upkeep, or in response to them using a bunch of mana at my end step, whichever one happens first. Yeah, there's Seek the Beast. I'll let you Surveil, then all Swords. And I just want to do this before they have a chance to reveal counterspells off of this. Brainstorm Wasteland. Rough. Sure. Goodbye, Plateau. All it takes for me to stay in this game is land off the top. There's the first. Yeah, my opponent is a tempo deck, and they have leaned into that very heavily. It may be that just like destroying my first 4 lands is good enough for them to get there. Now I might not be able to draw running lands, right? Like I take 4, draw a land, take 4, draw a land. Oh, Lightning Bolt does it. I will concede. I don't think we're going to be so bad off against this deck, though, especially after sideboarding. Like, I already have a lot of removal, and I could just bring in 5 more pieces of removal. So I guess what don't I want? Comet can probably go for being expensive. The rest of my cards are pretty reasonable. Fable's triggers are stifleable. So I am not cutting any of the removal spells, counting Bowmasters as a removal spell. I'm never cutting Sheoldreds. So that means I am looking at these 3 cards. I'm always bringing all of this stuff in. I can trim some numbers or cut one of them. I don't really want the tempo deck to become the Monarch. I also don't really want to play the 4 mana card versus Daze, though, so like, I think when I'm on the play, I'm going to play Forth Eorlingas. This is a 1-lander that's not going to do it. This is fine. I'm going to keep this and just, I think, pitch the Fable. This game's awkward when I have to play against Stifle. Am I getting a basic? I think I will just get a basic Swamp to start off this game. It means that I don't Swords to Plowshares a turn 1 creature that's played out, though. Which is not an issue this time. Just go Plateau and pass. Sure. Alright, we're chilling. I'm just going to make land drops then. That's a cool card to try. I don't think this turn is that turn. It just gets stopped by too many things. Sure. Sure. Gonna do the Questy Beast thing. Gonna do the Questy Beast thing. I think I respond to that with the Bowmasters. Just get a second plateau here. And then not be easily wastelandable off my stuff. It's a little awkward to, like, Bowmasters here if my opponent just flips a removal spell off Seek the Beast. See what they find. Brainstorm and a land. Beautiful. Sure. Pyroclasm. Got it. Now my opponent will fetch and probably awkwardly cast this Brainstorm as to not give up a card. That probably just means that I'll cast a Forth Eorlingas and become the Monarch on my turn. Or at least try to. Yeah. Can fetch around Stifle, getting another black source. Maybe a Scrub. Let's just do this for one and not get dazed. Alright, seems like it's working. So let's become the Monarch. And hopefully I bury my opponent in cards. Yeah, you can wasteland me, that's fine. Yep. So swords this. I think I like swords this. I want to save the edicts for later for Mongoose. Okay, cool. Had a plan here. So the follow-up to this, while there's still one power on this card, is to Bowmasters. Daze. Sure. I will pay. Second Daze. Can't pay for that one. This is fine as long as my opponent does not have a Lightning Bolt as follow-up. Like, I am fine with chump blocking and then removing this on my opponent's turn. Okay. My opponent's 4 pieces of interaction did allow them to win that fight. That's definitely a little frustrating. Because in order to threaten to take the Monarch back, I have to play into Daze next turn, which I don't like. Also, like 5 pieces of interaction if I count the Wasteland that made it so that I could not pay for the second Daze. Rough. Alright. This one first. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please. I just have to take this out of the way. And I think for tempo-based reasons, I can't let my opponent continue to draw cards, so I just have to shove this into Daze. My opponent showed me 2 of them last turn. They showed me a 3rd one this turn. Fuck me, I guess. Yeah, at this point, I probably just lose. I can draw another, like, Forth Eorlingas, and it can magically resolve. But otherwise, I think we're donezo. Sure. Counterbalance and Hydroblast. Sure. Yep. Alright. Let's go ahead and attempt a Fable. Alright. That's in play. I've got something that can threaten the Monarch, but I'm not too hopeful. Sure. Yep. That's fine. I've got Lightning Bolt to clean this up. My opponent has Lightning Bolt to clean up my Goblin Shaman, though. My opponent's just burying me with my own Monarch stuff. Yes, Plains is going. I think this is going. I think my need is more immediate. Well, we're going to, we're sure going to play that card anyway. All right, let's attempt to take out the Questing Druid. Tropical Island on top. We succeeded there. Let's attempt to play another one of these, which I presume is resolving. All right, we've got a 2/2. My opponent's got 6 cards in hand, which is effectively 8 because of their draw step and Monarch, though. Sure. Murktide Regent is a little rough, especially when backed by a secondary creature that is like Edict Protection. Not great. Triome's not exactly awesome here. We're just going to loot through that. Okay. That's not bad. When am I doing this? Just immediately? I think immediately. I don't want my opponent to untap extra mana and be able to quest the beast. That Brainstorm spells the end of the game, I believe. They just put a 1-drop on top, counter the red elemental blast, and then there's 11 in the air. Yep, alright. I am, at this point, comfortable conceding. GG's. Alright, I have kept kind of a medium opening hand here. It's going to play out a fetch land and pass. Our opponent is on a Yorion deck of some kind. Yavimaya, Pithing Needle. Okay, I will respond. Basically, I need them to just not pick the One Ring. The most confusing land, Savai Triome. Maybe just get basic Swamp. Maybe get basic Swamp and have them think about things like Helm of Obedience and Karn. They might still just name Wasteland if they're playing like a Depths deck. Yorion Depths deck, question mark. Okay, they still do name Wasteland. They also could be like Cloudpost based. Let's play Arid Mesa with the intention of grabbing tapped Triome if nothing changes. And if my opponent just like plays a Reclaimer or something, I plow it. Homeward Path? Okay. There be spice, folks. Alright. Triome. I mean, we're going Fable into Sheoldred. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Is this the opponent who played the wild-ass Yorion Primeval Titan deck that was, like, very slow and suboptimal? And I think we lost to anyway, because I was playing a deck that was even worse. That Cavern goes on Giant. We know. Yep, okay. It is. I think they were on, like, Prismatic Endings, Solitudes, that sort of stuff. Okay, sure. Forth Eorlingas. That's not bad. I think I just try to turn lands into not lands. Trying to decide whether or not I value protecting Sheoldred with Karakas. I think I do. The One Ring. Not bad. Sheoldred? I think I want Sheoldred this turn. So I'm just going to connect with this token to make a treasure. Opponent goes to 18. And then I'm going to actually use the treasure to cast Sheoldred so that I can protect Sheoldred with Karakas. Drop rotation. Sure. So take some damage. That's fine. That doesn't technically draw a card. Finding a Primeval Titan. I have multiple ways to answer that. Cloudpost isn't currently producing any extra mana. Okay, now it is. Sure. Okay. So that is crackable as things stand now. Sure. Just play Forth Eorlingas and then answer Primeval Titans somehow on my next turn. Am I tapping Karakas? Could just play this next turn and do post-combat the One Ring. Yeah, let's play around Solitude, taking away this Sheoldred forever. Domes my opponent for 6. We'll drop the One Ring. Draw my card. Gain 2 life. Combo. Opponent will crack the map. The nice thing here is that the Sheoldred damage is guaranteed off the up the Beanstalk trigger. I don't know, maybe that's a reason to just go for Forth Eorlingas for X equals 2. Finding Glimmerpost. Sure. Alright, so my opponent gains 3 life. Draws some cards, which loses them some life. Currently putting them at 9. See how much more they gain here. Like, it could just be double Glimmerpost. Okay, it is double Glimmerpost. Opponent might not have the white that they had last time I played them. Maybe I can stop playing around removal on Sheoldred. Am I swordsing this for mana efficiency? I think so. I want to save this Sheoldred for later in case something that I can't target ends up happening. Alright, lose some life. Gain some life. Gain some more life. Bowmasters is cool. Let's go. Land drop. Fetch. Maybe didn't have to fetch. Badlands. Gonna play Forth Eorlingas for some large-ish number. 2 to also hold up Bowmasters is reasonable, I think. Sure. We'll just send them. Opponent's back at 13. I become the Monarch. Draw a card, gain some life. I've got Bowmasters, Sheoldred's Edict, and Sheoldred Protection up if that's relevant. Sure. 11. Rise of the Eldrazi. Destroy target permanent. Target player draws 4 cards. Take an extra turn after this one. I will respond with an Orcish Bowmasters. Ping you. The up to Beanstalk draws happen, which triggers both of my cards. That puts my opponent to 8, down to 7. Trigger again. Down to 5. Down to 4. You may, in fact, draw 4 cards. I will allow it. I am a generous god. Yeah, yep. What am I doing in regards to sideboarding? Is it nothing, or am I playing Thoughtseize are basically the two choices. Probably playing Thoughtseize. Like, I don't imagine lightning bolts are particularly good. How good's Prismatic Ending? Occasionally good. Like, it occasionally catches a map or something that's played out early on. I think I'm going to just try to take one of my opponent's first major plays, and then just kind of continue to play the game that I played last time. My opponent probably has the inevitability over me, but their deck's just very slow. Yeah, I'm fine keeping 3 different things that punish draw effects. That's good with me. Sure. A Cloud Post. Not even playing it. Playing a map. Sure. And, like, this is the sort of situation where, like, I would appreciate having the Prismatic Ending immediately. But it's normally a very narrow 1-turn window where that works. Not this time, though. Alright, Badlands pass. We'll play Bowmasters at kind of the first opportunity. I can reasonably do so. If I can do so while playing around Veil of Summer, that's cool. If I can't, not that big of a deal. Pithing Needle resolves. I don't think I showed them. Or no, I did show them the One Ring. You think I have Wasteland in my Mardu deck with this degree of greed? Okay. Ping you. Sure. I don't play Caracas yet. I don't show my opponent that land. They might just get Dark Depths if, like, that's a thing their deck is capable of doing. So I think I'm just going to become the Pretty Princess this turn. White, red, and any one. Probably black. Forth Eorlingas. 4 damage, and the Pretty Princess. Yes. What do we pick up end of turn? Okay, sure. Alright, opponent is Cloud Posting. I picked up some removal, not really what I'm looking for. I might end up needing it. Opponent can copy Cloud Post with Thespian Stage and try to do some gross things. Play for this turn cycle is probably just going to be a Sheoldred. Send them. Alright, opponent takes 4. I think especially since I just have multiple Sheoldreds, I will jam one this turn. And then it's largely just a question of, like, which unfair thing does my opponent do on their turn. They also might need to Cloud Post Forest, or sorry, Thespian Stage Forest, if they need green. Doesn't appear to be the case this time. Draw a card, gain some life. Crop rotation, sure. A Yavimaya will allow them to fix their colors. Sure. This puts my opponent to 9. Opponent has 10 mana showing. More than 10 mana showing. It looks like Primeval Titan is happening with some colorless left over. That's fine. We have 3 different answers to Primeval Titan in hand. I guess multiple Cloud Posts could happen, and then my opponent could cast a secondary spell that matters a lot. Glacial Chasm, Glimmer Post. Sure. I still just eventually beat this by bleeding my opponent out with Sheoldred draws. It's just unpleasant. Okay, yep. Okay, yeah. That's just their turn. We're good. So, yeah. Damage and loss of life are different, just in case that is not a thing you have ever come across. I'm probably just playing Sheoldred's Edict, holding up Bowmasters. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please. And we'll call it a turn. And we'll do this whole gain some life stuff. Yep. Yeah, so we're gonna lead the old opponent out pretty quickly. But can they do something unfair enough that it beats what I'm doing in the meantime is the real question. That is that Rise of the Eldrazi thing again. Sure. So I will play Orcish Bowmasters. Yes, you may Veil of Summer. Please draw your card. Sheoldred the Apocalypse triggers. Orcish Bowmasters triggers. I'm gonna shoot my orc. My opponent loses some life. Bowmasters resolves. You know what? Bowmasters will shoot Sheoldred. I will bounce my Sheoldred. You may draw 4 cards. I have 8 Orcish Bowmasters triggers, which will all get pointed at this token, and the token's not going to die. You know what? Point 1 at this Human Knight for variety. Spice things up a bit. All right, we have giant creatures. You may take your additional turn. Sure. Yeah, you can cast it once upon a time. That's all fine. Finding a Boseiju who endures. Sure. This now costs my opponent 4 life. They're down to 8. Sure. Golos is fine. Eye of Ugin is scary, though. This game just becomes exhaust my opponent of all of their possible creatures. It's very boring. I have a Suva and Glimmerpost. That's fine. The One Ring. Okay. Yeah, this is just growing this orc token to unreasonable sizes. I'm going to send these at Golos. I don't think I'm actually going to get 5 triggers, but stranger things have happened. All right, made it to my turn. So 6 total mana. This is 3 of it, so I guess I'm also playing Fable. So Swords Golos, sacrifice a non-token creature to get rid of Primeval Titan. Sad that I don't get to drop a Sheoldred into play this turn. It is what it is. All right, sure, my opponent can Boseiju that. I'll happily get a Triome out of my deck. Draw a card at end step. Okay, the Glacial Chasm has dropped. Damage is currently active. We'll see if my opponent just like Emrakul's me. There's an Emrakul. I don't know that's enough to beat me. I have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I have 19 power on board. Emrakul is not a one-shot kill. If you have a Karakas, cool. Ramunap Excavator, sure. And replay Glimmerpost to get more life. Yeah, I don't know that this currently guaranteed wins. Like, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's very bad. I think I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to keep these Bowmasters in play so I can kill Ramunap. Maybe 5, 6. Just like take out the lands, just take the damage in the air. It may be a moot point if my opponent just plays Olamug the Ceaseless Hunger afterwards. All right, there's a crop rotation. That can just be Karakas to end the game. That'll do. I think I like how I am boarded here. Again, Prismatic Ending can occasionally hit a map. Same with Hidetsuga Consumes All. I don't think I'm generally super interested in those effects. This hand's a little slow. I'd rather start pressuring faster than this, either by pressuring a hand with Thoughtseize, by accelerating with Chrome Mox, or having Orcish Bowmasters. It's like a fine hand. I'd rather be faster. I'm gonna ship this. This is faster by a lot. Yeah, this hand's quite good. So, I guess I guess the Fable goes under, and I play turn 1 Bowmasters, turn 2 Forth Eorlingas, which means that this needs to be black mana. Badlands, Scrubland, Rubland. Let's go Chrome Mox. Immediately imprint the Fable, and because my opponent is playing Veil of Summer, I'm just going to do this at sorcery speed and just ping my opponent. So the goal is that I'm attacking for 4 next turn while also being the Monarch. Yavimaya is fine. Reclaimer, sure. That is the One Ring. Means I'm not quite as aggressive as I would like to be here. Let's cast this for X equals 1. I don't want my opponent to chump block here. Would they? If they chump block, I just play the One Ring next turn, and it's totally fine. Okay, cool. Good stuff. All right, that Edict is great. And now I get to just play tempo from here. That's a 1-2. Double block. Nah, I'm going to chump. I can throw away that token and keep this effect around. Cloudpost is fine. All right, good stuff. So I think I just do this. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. I'm just going to do that right now. Just make sure no shenanigans happen. Great. Then I'm okay attacking with both creatures. Nothing like Endurance is currently up. Fantastic. Another Once Upon a Time is fine. Finding Eye of Ugin. Thoughtseize is reasonable, but like slightly awkward. I'll still use it to punch a hole in my opponent's hand happily. Some portion of the time that gets Veil of Summered. I'll fetch a Triumph with this at end of turn. That's an Eye of Ugin. Yeah, let's grab Triumph. Pass turn. Awkward, but let's do it. If I do this and my opponent Veils, I at least know that I'm not getting ambushed by something like Endurance. A Crop Rotation, sure. Or a Cloud Post. Did you just take yourself off Veil of Summer by getting rid of your green card? Oh no, you took yourself off of second Crop Rotation. Got it. All right, there's a Forest and a Yavimaya there. My second Thoughtseize is not great. Opponent's at 12. I'll draw a card. Land's not great. I'm looking to just close this game out quickly. All right, so there's a Yavimaya. Oh, I forgot that my opponent was a Yorion deck in all of this. Maybe they forgot to. So I think I will go ahead and just attack in. I'm not going to use this Thoughtseize immediately. Opponent's at 9. Play the One Ring. Immediately draw a card. More land. Yuck. Okay. Even more land. Sure. Classic. That's very annoying. Now we have to fight through some shit. My Sheoldreding this turn 1, 2, 3, 4. I always have 5, 6 mana afterwards so that I can answer this. Yes. So Sheoldred, draw with the One Ring, completely miss on any removal spell for Primeval Titan, which is super frustrating. Maybe hit one here. Nope. Just nope. That's very tilting. Like, I knew my opponent was sitting on bricks, so like just lands, so I didn't cast the Thoughtseize, and then either the one card my opponent had or their one draw step was Primeval Titan, which saved them. Sure. This is a bit awkward. I think I have to do this and this, not let my opponent become the Monarch. Still only trades the Sheoldred away. All right. Just naturally draw an Eldrazi as well. Cool. That is incredibly frustrating. Yep. What the fuck? I'm out. Fuck this deck. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I personally keep all of my deck lists for every format on this site. I love that I can go and sort them by types and tags if I need to. There's a lot of different viewing options. It can give you some math about your mana symbol, your curve, and you can even playtest and do sample opening hands with it. Check this site out if you haven't before. It's awesome. All right, we have a little bit of a slow opener, but we have a really good 2-3 curve, like 2-3-4 curve. Hopefully that's fine. Fair or unfair, Underground Sea? We're hoping fair. Like, we are equipped for end of turn, cycle troll, reanimate troll. We're not equipped for Dark Ritual Doomsday. Brainstorm. End of turn Brainstorm's a little scary. That points my internal deckometer slightly towards combo, which, as we have established, I'm very soft to in game 1 circumstances. I will fetch the Triome. Part of me wants to hide information as long as possible, but this might actually misdirect my opponent into thinking that I am a Leyline Binding control deck list. We'll see. Like, Mardu Triome is kind of a wild thing to fetch. Okay. That might be fair. Playing land pass again? Well, this is exciting. Guess I'll just fetch again then. Scrub? Scrub. Don't really want this to get dazed. I think I'm just holding up a removal spell around daze. If I'm playing against a combo deck, like Awkward, if I'm playing against Delver, they're on a very control heavy start. Sure. And I'd rather play around daze. Honestly, if we're playing against combo, just like playing out of Fable isn't going to win the game anyway. It doesn't have good things to dig towards. No shuffle. What is happening? Unsure. Like, legitimately unsure. Able around days now? I guess. Bell Pierce, okay. So, probably a tempo deck with a weird ass start. Like, if this is tempo, cool. Like, my opponent can just, like, play a Murktide Region or something, and then I edict it, and they force, and then I edict it again, like a sicko. Alright, yeah. I have so many removal spells for this bad boy. Okay. Let's start with an edict. Actually, I probably just do this on my opponent's turn. I don't need to let them use, like, Spell Pierce and equivalent mana. It's just, like, Force of Negation that could be hard cast on their turn. I think I'm good with that. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please. That is a Force of Will pitching a daze. Got it. Next, I'm going to fetch. Grab a Plateau. Doesn't super matter. I think I now play Swords to Plowshares so that that is played around Spell Pierce. Fantastic. Yeah, you can cast some cantrips. So opponent's hand probably has like another Murktide and a Lightning Bolt in it or something like that. Or maybe more Spell Pierces. Yeah, this is great. Don't have to play the 4-drop into a Spell Pierce then. Or a Force of Negation for that matter. That's fine. Opponent's waiting to pay cost on something that's blue. That's fine. I'll just remove this on my own terms. Like, I would... Ooh. No, let's ending that. Boop. I mean, this is what my Mardu deck wants to do. It just wants to sit here and remove creatures and drag the game on for infinity and then eventually do something cool. But I think I just, like, don't let these be dazable at this point. Or, if I can help it, spell pierceable even. Like, the 6th land drop is a huge deal right now. My opponent has lost connection. Alright, looks like we got the old rage quit from the opponent, or they had a bad internet connection. Either way, we were very, very far ahead in this game, and we're definitely winning this one. In the definition of YOLO, if I draw any colored card on turn 1, I can just play Forth Eorlingas and just fucking YOLO. So that's a thing that I probably have to do for entertainment against Polluted Delta. Alright. It's just not correct to do it, folks, and I apologize. Against any non-blue land, I would have just fucking yeeted it for your entertainment. But these cards are really good. Playing Wasteland and not wastelanding me? So you just have Orcish Bowmasters? Or your land light yourself? What are we doing? What are we doing? This is so weird. It's a triad land, too. It's a juicy fucking land. All right. So I think we're going to put Sheoldred under Chrome Mox and cast this while I still have my third land. This is Dazable, which I don't love, but I don't think I'm supposed to give up a second card here. I'm just kind of trying to work out why everything happened that it did. Okay, it is just Bowmasters. That's fine. Like, I have Bolt for that. Like, I guess I don't have Bolt for that if my opponent then Wastelands the Savai Triome. I needed to fetch Plateau. Oh, fuck. That's awkward. That's on me. I even thought about that, too. Holy shit. I am so happy right now. Yeah, this is fine. Cool. Everything is going better than expected. Lightning Bolt, Orcish Bowmasters. It just worked. Yes. Get rid of Chrome Mox and one land. Bull. Okay. What's the situation here? I don't think my opponent has a Daze, but they have taken a draw step since then and pondered. They're not about the mana denial. Are they working towards hardcasting a Grief, and so I should play Forth Eorlingas this turn? That's weird. What about post-combat Forth Eorlingas for X equals 2 and not introducing Monarch into the game? Weird shit. I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Dismember, okay. Sure. So my opponent's on Death Shadow then with that Dismember in all likelihood. But I like to make a 2/2. Post-combat 2/2 is awkward. I'm just gonna like fetch around a random Stifle. Grab a red source and not play this. Play it next turn for a larger number. But like, this is double Underground Sea though. So maybe this is just a good, honest Dismember. Alright, there's 17. Yep. Gonna Murktide me now? Gonna Murktide me now. Okay. Any one of my infinity removal spells? Nice. Alright. Land. I guess let's pick this first. I have black, black. I don't have red, red. I have white, white. I shouldn't need red, red. I always have black because of Chrome Mox. I probably just pick up a second Plateau then. Attempt to remove Murktide. We succeed. I haven't really been able to read what my opponent has this game. I'm just having trouble rationalizing the Wasteland. Like, a lot of trouble. I think we're just going. My situation's kind of bad. Alright, there is a Daze. You know, so it seems like my opponent's on Scam. I don't really understand not using the Wasteland. Okay, there's a Snuff Out. And a Reanimate on the Troll. We have a decent number of removal spells to make that not a problem. We could draw the One Ring. Sheoldred's not bad. Let's Sheoldred. Alright, cool. Sheoldred doesn't like answer Troll because Troll has Super Menace. But it does make it so that we kind of have comparable clocks. And Sheoldred doesn't die to Snuff Out. Alright, I take 6. Ponder's fine. We're very happy to see cantrips that Sheoldred punishes. My opponent almost certainly now has to chump block with this Orc token. Ouchie. Okay, it is Shadow, but it's Shadow without shock lands from the look of it. This is 3 incoming 2/2s, which is 6 damage. So Sheoldred and 1 2/2 have to be blocked. Assuming that I cast this for the full X is 3. Actually, it's even more than that, right? Like, it's just lethal. Like, Sheoldred and a token are... No, it's not lethal, because the following damage is not guaranteed. Because Death Shadow could block Sheoldred. That might still leave me in a good position. A lot of this is just like, does my opponent have a Daze or Force? Alright. Maybe supposed to cast this for 1 less. Alright, it's in play. You do also have to keep in mind that Snuff Out's a thing, but I guess that doesn't math out super well for my opponent. So if they block Orc Army token on Sheoldred, Death Shadow on Knight, they die to Sheoldred in upkeep. They block Sheoldred on Death Shadow, Human Knight token on Orc. They go to 1. I have 2 tokens to their Troll. I'm okay with that. Yeah, send them. Okay, alright. My opponent is dead. Ugh. Yeah, does my opponent? No. Alright. So, Hidetsu Consumes All is pretty hot here, because it can kill, like, Death Shadows, while also taking out graveyards for things like Murktide Regents. It can occasionally be a little bit awkward. I think, essentially, we're just going to become a pile of removal, even more so than we already are. Like, what am I boarding out? Am I boarding out Forth Eorlingas to play around Orcish Bowmasters? Am I boarding out my Chrome Mock because my cards are good and I don't want to put them under Chrome Mocks? And I'm about to board in Hidetsu Consumes All that kills them anyway? Okay. I am in. I have convinced myself. Refresher on Comet's modes. Jump blocker, return a removal spell, maybe kill my opponent, or Comet Time Warp. Okay. Good boy can stay. I don't know what my last cut is. Cards seem good. Forth Eorlingas is just like really scary if my opponent lowers their life total, so I don't know that I want to go down on those. 1 Fable? Like I did replace, or I did add multiple 3-drops to the deck. Okay. This hand isn't any better than okay, and will be a little rough against a starting troll. Okay, no, there are Watery Graves in here. My opponent just like didn't do them last time. Yeah, sure. That's fine. I don't have a great answer to that immediately, but I am also like not super worried about it. I think I'm just gonna play a fetch land and aggressively Red Elemental Blast a cantrip that my opponent plays here. Yeah, I can take some initial damage from this. 17. Yeah. Maybe a Badlands. Yeah, and we're just going to try to super aggressively trade. Yeah, that's fine. I'm mostly just looking to, like, either slow my opponent down or fish counterspells out of their hand so that I can actually go and play removal spells when I draw them. Like, my deck is full of them, so I think I'm okay with that. That's not great for me, though. Dazable Edict, probably. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please. My opponent is pausing for a really long time. I mean, I guess it doesn't kill their Death Shadow, but yeah. I think that's an easy counter. It just lets you literally half my life total, slightly more than it in this turn cycle. That's fine. Opponent might have successfully gone under me this game. They definitely did now. This stings, and they get to Wasteland my Plateau, which is the white mana that represents an out to Death Shadow. Yep. Alright, we just did not get off the ground that game. Opponent had a very aggressive start. That's fine. I don't think I want like Thoughtseizes or anything like that for this matchup. I think just being on the play is a large enough difference. So I would like more mana with this hand, but I have 2 starting lands and 2 starting removal spells. This is fine. A Grief Reanimate Grief situation could be a little awkward. Otherwise, I think I'm probably okay. I don't think I'm going to take a land out of my deck. I would like to just ever so slightly increase the chances of drawing a land on the next turn here. Swamp Cycle. Finding Underground Sea. That's annoying. It occurs. Means that I probably have to just do the Swords to Plowshares dazably. I just have no guarantee that I will draw another land to even play around the days. There is the days. Yep. All right, there's a second land. We can now edict this. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. All right, good. It's out of play. I mean, it could be reanimated again. Like, we're not out of it yet. And I still need both red lands and another land drop. Like, I've got problems. All right, down to 10. There's Death Shadow. I have Prismatic Ending for that. And I have more mana. This is great. We are just going to immediately answer this, though. It is a terribly inefficient use of my mana, but I just want to take no hits. I just want to prolong this game and play the really good cards that are in my hand. And presumably the other really good cards that I will draw. I will fetch an end of turn Triome at this point, I think. Unless that happens. In which case, I will leave another land in the deck. We're so very well off if I draw another land, though. Like, I would love to break serve here. Yeah, fantastic. Fetch. Let's do a Badlands and a Plateau. And then I can't be taken off a color. Which way do I do this? I would like extra cards, right? Meow. Go Forth Eorlingas. Nice. Send them. Yeah, just extra looks at removal spells and lands matter so much right now. Excellent. That lets me Sheoldred next turn, which is a huge deal. Okay. Bowmaster could be coming. Just got to keep that in mind. I think I do pre-combat Sheoldred. Maybe a way to turn on the Sheoldred. Play Fable around days. Have 2 creatures, hold back. I have Dismember to think about. I have Orcish Bowmasters to think about. Kind of don't want to get just blown the fuck out by Bowmasters and days. I think I'm just going to hold for a turn. Play a little defensively. It is Bowmasters. Yep. So then the Monarch draw happens, and it kills this token. But I still have a body on board, so I can at least contest the Monarch. Oh, that's bad. How does my opponent have so many Wastelands? Sure. I'm at 14. My opponent becomes the Monarch. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have like Daze or Force, and I just get to drop Sheoldred and punish them for being the Monarch. Oh, Comet is neat. Let's go yes, discard the tapped Triome. Take a little extra damage. I think I play Sheoldred this turn. Let's do some fetching. Get a Scrubland. We get a secondary Plateau. I guess I don't necessarily want to be knocked off black by yet another Wasteland. I never need more than single red. Yeah, let's do this. Please, no counterspell? Nice. And this one dodges Snuff Out. It doesn't dodge Dismember, though. Opponent's at 6, and then I'm hoping to just play Comet and kill my opponent next turn. Like, that is very legitimately my plan. My opponent's really at 4 due to the Monarch trigger. Margins are going to be tight on this one. I think I awkwardly have to block the Orc Army token if it attacks, which turns on Fatal Push as an out to Sheoldred. So many fucking Wastelands. Good lord. I hope that has to be Brazen Borrower mana. It is a Murktide Regent. Sure. Opponent's not Wastelanding. Okay, they're at 4. Okay, assuming I make it to my main phase, I can cast Comet. Sure. Alright. Why isn't my opponent Wastelanding? They are just dead, in most cases, to 2 Sheoldred triggers. In most cases, I am not dead to the combat on their turn. I could attempt to prolong this game. I don't think my opponent has Daze, because my other card before would have gotten dazed. I think I just jam Comet, because this good boy just kills my opponent on a 4, 5, or potentially a reroll for 6. I have made squirrels instead. So we're chilling. I guess my opponent can show me a Dismember for the Sheoldred, but if they had that, they should have already done it. A Dress Down. Okay, sure. So this is a 6/6 non-flyer now. The Sheoldred problem still remains. The Comet problem still remains. Opponent also has to stack the triggers correctly in the end step or be sad. That's a brainstorm. Hey, we end up positive with the Mardu deck, which is a huge victory in my book. All right, so how are we feeling about the deck list here at the end of the league? I feel like I did a good job of fulfilling the requirements of the challenge of brewing a Mardu Control deck list that had both Forth Eorlingas and the One Ring. Like, I checked that box. At the end of the day, do I really like the deck list? Not really? I feel like a lot of the games were kind of landslides in one direction or another. I don't think I ever put more than 2 counters on the One Ring. So we never, I think, really spiraled this out of control, either because the game was already over or, on the other hand, I was already dead. I never copied something with Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and I think I only had one opportunity to do so, where it was just like a 2/2 token off of this. Like, I feel like I buried my opponent in cards because I became the Monarch early, or I just bled my opponent out with Sheoldred. But I don't know. I don't know that I just feel like this deck works. We got a pretty good set of matchups, honestly. Like, we played against largely fair stuff where my deck could do what it wanted. And on a day where I'm less lucky and we just get paired against, Doomsday and Storm decks and Show and Tell decks, I've got no shot. So this was, I think, a good showing and a good attempt at building a Mardu Control deck list. But folks, it's so much easier to just win the game with Up the Beanstalk and Uro and Lorien Revealed and the things like that that are in the blue control deck lists. And the ability to have Brainstorm so that when you have too many spot removal spells, you can just put them back. Like, that is so good. I feel like I did the same thing here that I did on the Halloween video, which you should check out if you didn't watch. That vampire video is awesome. Where I hedged against fair decks, kind of overly so, and was rewarded for it. I wouldn't necessarily expect it to go as well if I ran this back in another league. Chrome Mox ended up being a little bit awkward. I'm not sure whether or not I was supposed to board it out in that last round. I just felt like I had a lot of cards that I wanted. Chrome Mox, like, getting hit by our Hitsu consumes all, or a Meltdown if we would have had different matchup spread is like a thing. But accelerating into the stuff earlier matters because, like, the deck's slow. So that was a lot of words, but I hope that was all useful. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any ideas, because I certainly haven't fully solved this one. If you need any paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.